A bit of a breaking news here. Well, we just had our CPI reports coming out from the United States, meaning that it shows that inflation is actually slowing. That's why you see a lot of stocks and crypto went on a huge spike right now. So this might have overshadowed a lot of the things that happened about FTX, but we do have an update from Sam himself, SBF. So he just posted a Twitter thread on Twitter. So let's go through here and see what he's thinking. So first, I'm sorry, that's the biggest thing. I fucked up and should have done better. Well, as a CEO, that's what you should say and take responsibility. He's talking about he should have communicated more, but his hands were tied because of the Binance deal, so he couldn't say much publicly. So here's an update. The big thing is that this whole thing is about FTX International, not the FTX US exchange, because the US exchange is fully compliant and they need to have liquidity in order to operate. And they are regularly audited by the government. And as you can tell, it's an advertisement for regulation. But everything about below, it's going to be about FTX International. The main thing is that FTX International currently has a total market value asset collateral higher than clients' deposits, boosted prices. So this means that apparently FTX has enough to cover the client's deposits. So if they sell FTX completely to another party or investors come in to pick up pieces of FTX, then they should have enough funds to pay the customers. But that's one of his goals. So the full story, so he's trying to figure out what happened. So he's blaming it on this. The first time, a poor internal labeling of bank-related accounts meant that I was substantially off my sense of users' margin, though I thought it was way lower. So basically, he thought the users' margin, the users' level is much lower. So that meant that he can use the customer fund to gamble, to leverage, to go to take a margin position. So that's what made him do it. So his sense was that he thought there's, with zero liquidity, zero leverage, the liquidity of US dollar ready to deliver is 20 times the average daily withdrawal rate. So he thinks that he should have enough to cover every high number of withdrawal rates. But the actual number is that they're actually leveraged 1.7 times and liquidity was 0.8 times Sunday's withdrawals. This is so much lower. So on Sunday, they saw $5 billion of withdrawal in a single day. Now, this is what a bank run is. The bank, everybody go in there and withdraw their funds. FTX didn't have enough to cover the withdrawal. They only have 80% of $5 billion to cover customer withdrawals. That means a lot of customers weren't able to withdraw their money. So he was off twice, which tells me a lot of things, both specifically and generally that I was shit at. And the third time, he's not communicating enough. So he's saying he's sorry. Again, so here we are. And again, he says it's on him. He says, I'm sorry. So what is he going to do? He's trying to make it right. The number one priority by far is doing right by users. He's going to do everything he can to take responsibility and do what he can to pay people back. So right now, they're spending a week doing everything they can to raise liquidity, meaning they want to get investors in FTX. He's trying to get someone or some group of people to buy out FTX so they can take on the debt and pay back the customers. So there's still some value to the FTX exchange, right? It's an exchange with users, although right now the value is severely cut because of the confidence for the user is basically gone. So when you gamble with users' funds, this is what happens. So there's a number that is tough with. So he's talking with folks trying to get people to buy it. So every part of that collateral will go straight to the users. And yeah, he wants to pay the users back. Because at the end of the day, he's the CEO, which means that I was responsible for making sure that things went well. And I ultimately should have been on top of things. And he failed at that. He said, I'm sorry, once again. So what does it mean going forward? He's not sure what's going to happen next. It really depends on who wants to pick up FTX. But one way or another, Alameda Research, in my other video, I showed you the team behind Alameda, is winding down trading. They will not be trading anywhere. So you will see a huge market maker gone from this market on crypto. So a lot of low liquidity coins might not be so easily traded with. So if in any scenario where FTX continues to operate, then the first priority will be to radical transparency. Transparency, it's probably should have been given. That's a big one. A lot of exchanges are talking about it. Binance is talking about it as well. They want to do an on-chain transparency as they can. So they disclose all wallets that the exchange owns so people can see the activity or where their money is going. That should have been a requirement of any exchange. So at the stakeholder level, there should be some sort of governance level. You need stakeholder, investor, regulators to keep him in check instead of he make all the decisions to leverage the user's fund, for example. If they have investors and others on the board to look at him to make sure he can do things like that, things like this wouldn't happen. You can't have a single person operating with their own will. In other words, they are trying to make this like some sort of a DAO. But in the end, the traditional finance board structure there's a reason for that, right? So all it matters right now is do right by the customers. Sure. Again, this is about FTX International, not FTX US. FTX US is 100% liquid. So any US customers, I highly recommend you should probably withdraw your money from the FTX US exchange. One last thing, he's throwing out a jab here. So at some point, I might have more to say about a particular sparring partner, so to speak. But glass houses. So for now, all I say is, well played, you won. So there's a lot of speculations right now that he's actually talking about CZ in this tweet. Remember, this whole thing started because CZ went on Twitter and said, hey, we're going to unload all of our FTX token because we don't want to hold it. And that exposes his leverage. So if you do a mass dump of FTX token, the FTX token price will tank. And then when he's leveraged with FTX token, he's going to be underwater. So that simple statement from Binance is enough to trigger the collapse of FTX. So I think he's referring to CZ by saying, well played, you won. People are saying that, hey, maybe he's talking about this other guy that we did a video on. I'm not sure, but maybe he has something to do with it. Maybe he told CZ what the leverage position is for FTX. That's how CZ was able to get the intel. But in the end, CZ, he came out the winner in this whole thing. His exchange is now the biggest in the world. There's really nothing compared to it, not even Coinbase. So Binance is now killing it, and one of their partners, their rival just went down. So FTX is gone, and he won. And that's the statement from SBF. So just give me a quick update. Let me know what you guys think about his statement. Will you ever trust SBF again? Will you still invest in FTX exchange? Will you still have some FTX tokens? You're trying to keep it, maybe? We're at a really turning point. So it really depends. If somebody do buy out FTX, then the token might still have some value. But at the moment, the token is pretty much worthless. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll see you in the next video.